Gang hang. We're on a little summer break there. I apologize. I had to travel with the wife. We went to Ohio for a weird summer birthday vacation, and it turned out to be great. So I'm not going to shit talk Ohio anymore. Ohio's actually pretty great.
Were you shit talking Ohio before?
Everybody does, you know, like, oh, Cleveland, Cincinnati, what a dump. Like, they're not all. They're really nice towns. They're really nice towns. But regardless of that, it's not what we're here to talk about. We're going to talk about comics.
Camera on, Bomb.
And nerd
Camera
stuff.
on. The people pay to see our beautiful faces.
Not going to mess with it right now, Joe Patrick, because I just got it working again. So since we got a good thing going, we're just going to roll with it. But thanks. Anyway, let's talk nerd stuff. There's all kinds of stuff to get into. Notably, and I don't know if anybody read it or not, I just finished it and have some thoughts. I know Joe Patrick read it, and we're going to review it next week. So I don't think Joe and I need to go too deep into our thoughts on it, but if anybody read it, I would love to hear your thoughts on the history of the DC universe, because it is it's a chunky boy that Mark Waid put together here, and he really connected some dots. Brian Domingos, did you read this?
Yeah, it's kind of everything that I want, which is great. Thank you, Mark Waid. Really taking some old stuff, all the old stuff, mixing it with new stuff in a very checklist kind of thing, but still just delivering it in I think, a pretty palpable and interesting way. And you get to go through and you see, hey, here's Icon from Milestone. Like, you see him as part of the origin,
right?
Yeah,
which is like it's those kind of things where it's like, oh, that's so cool. Like, there's like a level of like respect for the certain things that have happened, and this feels like a real, like a clean start, and I can't wait to see the next ones. Like, I really, this was all for anyone who didn't see it. It's basically from the beginning of time until Krypton explodes.
Yeah.
And so it's all of the stuff from, the old times. They've got the Demon Knights team from the New 52 as part of it. All these little subgroups that showed up between the Justice Society and the Justice League, which is really cool, because there's all those, they've had to do those continuity team fill-ins, like Superboy and versus Monel kind of things, where it's like, well, this couldn't happen because they didn't exist, and you've got these cool little weird groups, and he's gone and labeled them and put them in a timeline, and it's really fun.
Okay, so I 100% agree, and I love that things like, Iraq is here, and like the first boy, Arion and all that stuff, and like, and they,
Anthro, the first boy, Arion, Lord of Atlantis, and Arak,
like,
Son of Thunder. Yeah.
They fit in all the old West stuff, even like here's all the old DC Western characters, and like the Shining Knight and Sir Justin, like all this dumb like Silver Age stuff. The funny thing here is, and I love checking on, I'm not going to call them the trolls. I like to check in on the complainers to just see what they're complaining about, because I'm with you. I thought this was a lot of fun. I think Mark Waid understood the job and nailed it. Right? This is how you do it.
Just real quick, on top of that, I don't want anyone but Mark Waid doing this.
Oh, agreed.
He's the guy. Like, I don't want Dan Jurgens' like saltine version. I want like Mark Waid, the guy who has good ideas and really knows his shit to do this. And it's exactly what he's the guy.
And a healthy amount of respect for stuff that most people, I mean, like, let's be real here. There's stuff in here, like, I haven't read DC Comics as long as probably you and Joe and whatnot, but there was stuff in here I was like, oh shit, I only vaguely know about something like this. But still, very cool how, like, you can have the origin of, Kent Nelson becoming Dr. Fate on the same page of that guy that captured Dream from, the Sandman. And just like,
Roderick Burgess.
Yeah. And like, oh, okay. Because I think we were all a little maybe prickly at the idea of the Sandman universe being brought into the DCU. Maybe not in the same way that I would say Alan Moore, and all that stuff was kind of, when we tried to Jeff Johns, Dr. Manhattan and everything into the DCU. But this seems really gentle. And I noticed no mention of any of that yet. Maybe it's coming, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, and something to consider, at least, and I thought of this as well, is that we all know that DC is going to stick to their guns as far as like Hellblazer's a part of this world.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
But you have to remember that Alan Moore's Swamp Thing and Sandman, they started out in the DC universe.
Yeah.
In fact, so did Hellblazer for that matter.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until after the fact that those books became Vertigo after they became so popular. And so to see Dream get captured in the 40s, it makes total sense, especially since we've seen Sandman. We've seen Sandman appear in DC Comics in regular continuity many times.
Yeah.
Grant Morrison brought him into JLA. We had,
when he shows up, when Daniel, the new Sandman, because this is after Sandman ended, right? The spoilers for Sandman from 40 years ago. But the new Sandman, when he appears in JLA, and it was like you turn the page and Grant's hinting at it as it's going through, and then you turn the page and you see Daniel, and it's like, what? Like, this is a big deal. Because, this character has not appeared here before like this, and you see him have Daniel have a real conversation with Kyle and like levels Kyle up in a way of like, oh yeah, you're better than Hal Jordan. Like, you're more powerful than him because of your imagination and all these things. And then he just leaves, and it's like, oh man. So to have these things pulled in, I think I think the Endless is on page 1. Like they have, because they're at the beginning of time.
Because they were born at the beginning of time.
Yeah, right there. Right after the Source made made the Monitor, the Anti-Monitor, and the World Forger. The next thing is the Big Bang gave rise to stars, planets, and the Endless. There they are. Boom. Page 1.
I did the haters' comments are always funny. There was one review I read that thought everything was great about it, but they thought having anyone from Sandman it was really bad taste because of Neil Gaiman's
oh, get over it.
Yeah,
and I was like, are you?
I mean, get over it's not what I meant to say, but those characters are owned by DC.
Well, yeah, it's not. It's that's definitely one of those oh, you write for a website that needs the crawlers to find the word Gaiman in there somewhere.
Yeah, right?
This is such a pandering, pathetic thing of get over it. That's
right.
He's done horrible things. He's not responsible for this whole thing. They're separate. You can have two separate things with that. We can continue having these characters and having these things without this guy. Because again, he didn't write it 3 days ago.
Agreed.
Ago.
It's also a wholly different argument from that. And we've talked about it plenty of times. We're is it okay to read, stuff by people who have done horrible things? Well, that's your decision. If you like the story and you want to read it, fine, good for you. But it's okay, the characters didn't do anything wrong. These characters haven't done anything wrong. They're just characters in the DC universe. And is Neil Gaiman getting money because Daniel's on a page in here? I kind of doubt it. Right? I mean, he's already been paid for whatever he's getting. So
right.
I mean, that's a ridiculous argument. I do think the Endless being pulled into the DCU in one page like this with Mark Waid, just one yellow box that is literally a sentence that tells us how we got them, is so much better than anything they did with the Watchmen being brought into the DCU in pages and pages and pages of explanation.
I'm actually very curious to see how Waid addresses that in probably the final issue.
I am too.
Of this, because they don't act like the JSA never existed or that everybody forgot about them. They just said the JSA was here and then they went away, which is exactly their original continuity from the 80s when the Justice Society disappeared.
Okay, Joe, let me stop you there and ask a question. Does that mean so? And just from what we've gleaned here, without knowing more, the way that Mark Waid set up the JSA, there's no mention of Earth 2 or any of this.
There's no mention of the multiverse at all. Yeah. That's curious to me. I wonder, maybe the issue that deals with Crisis on Infinite Earths will address that.
Yeah, because that's where I'm at. Is that gone?
You're gonna get the Silver Age. I mean, that could be a Silver Age kind of plot point in this. I mean, this is just. I mean, and again, it's not a narrative. It's just here's this happened, then this happened. I mean, it's like the Silmarillion, right? There's There's no plot. It's just here. Let's formally set things that occurred. Let's go through and do this whole thing. And I think you get to the Silver Age book, which is the second one, when you get the first legacy character like that. Maybe they'll mention it, but he doesn't even need to really until you get to I am guessing that the second one's going to end with Crisis. Because
it has to, right? It has to.
It's time period. It's like they went from the beginning of time to like 1938, or whatever the Superman appearance, and then for continuity purposes, we're going to get the next. We're going to see all that smashes together, or maybe they don't even mention Crisis,
or maybe
in some weird way.
I don't think there's also any reason why everything we've seen here couldn't be a history of Earth 2.
Well, this is think of it this way. The timeline of the Earth that we read about in our monthly DC Comics is the combined timeline where the Justice Society was always a part of it. And so you couldn't really do a history of the DCU and then spend every issue explaining, prior to the Crisis, this is how it happened, but then after the Crisis, this is how it happened.
And that's the headache.
That's too much.
That's the headache that DC had for years and years and years.
This is the timeline. This is the timeline of the current DC Earth. Now, whether or not they mention the multiverse and how for a time it affected the lives of these characters, splitting them off onto alternate universes, blah, 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 we will see.
Right.
But this is a history of the current DC prime DC universe.
Are you okay?
And
let me ask you then, Joe Patrick. Let's say, and Brian Domingos, and anybody else that wants to chime in. I don't know if there's like older DC nerds here or not, so this could be over some of our heads, and that's fine. But let me ask you guys: if Earth 2 is gone, if all that's gone, is that okay?
The thing is that it's probably not gone.
It's probably not.
In the sense that you're thinking of, like. I will, because, and I was thrilled to see it, but Mark Waid put out a comic book this week, or it was either this week or last week, that specifically references hypertime.
Okay, so
like hypertime is a thing still.
So we're gonna get
love
weird.
It or hate it.
We're gonna get weird.
And so this is what I think will happen. I think that when they get to the issue that deals with the Crisis. They will address this big crisis that deals with a multiverse that once existed but then no longer did. And then when they get to the issue where they talk about Infinite Crisis, they will talk about how the multiverse has been reborn, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
And so I think we're going to have our cake and eat it too in the best way that Waid can make it work.
The most digestible way, perhaps.
Yeah, and readers like Brian and I will remember, oh yeah, these characters once upon a time existed on Earth too. But like, if you want to get all Reed Richards timey-wimey about it, yes, they did in our memories, but they never did in the actual timeline of events.
Fair. No, okay.
Because history was rewritten.
Right. Before, and they've tried to do this, as you say, have your cake and eat it too before, but it was like, did you ever eat that cake? And you're like, what? I thought I did.
So like,
it made me sick. I remember that.
Well, that's the thing with the hypertime is that and I wish they had let Waid and Morrison run with it, because those are the two folks to. It's like merging it's like chocolate and peanut butter. It's like you put the two best minds at this thing together to figure this out. But the idea with hypertime, as far as I understand it, is you did have the cake, but you had all the cakes, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like that, like you did have all the cakes.
Too many
because
cakes.
You had well, not too many. It's just they all happen. So if you like this story, you can enjoy this story. It doesn't cancel anything out necessarily.
Right. Like hypertime is just a meta textual way to say that everything you read counts, but don't worry too much about it. Like, we gave you the timeline. This is the timeline.
Yeah.
But yeah, that comic book that you read when you were a kid, where the Justice Society meet the JSA, where the JLA meet the JSA in the 60s and they're on separate Earths. Yeah, it happened. Somewhere out there in the firmament, it happened.
Yeah, just don't think about it too hard or it'll break your brain.
Yeah.
So one of the main things that I heard people complaining about, and I don't know, honestly, I don't know how true it is, but putting all these characters before this, which I would argue this has to exist. There was a DC universe before Superman showed up. Yes, I 100% agree. Superman is the first superhero. There's no question. Was there a time in the DC universe where literally everything started with Superman? Like there were no super people before him, and later that was added.
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Yeah, in the golden age, when everybody was in the golden age, they didn't really talk about it much. Like Superman wasn't the first costumed character. I think the first costumed character that we would consider a superhero. Well, actually, Mark Waid mentions it more than once in this very comic. Dr. Occult.
Right.
Was the first character to put on a costume and fight crime. I did not even know that happened.
No, I read that and I immediately looked it up and I was like, Jesus Christ, Mark Waid. How do you know this shit?
I always thought that on paper that technically speaking, the first costume adventurer in comic books was the Crimson Avenger.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
So, but I mean, they didn't even mention the Crimson Avenger in this comic.
No.
Not that he wasn't also around. Like Waid couldn't mention everybody, but yeah, the Dr. Occult thing blew my mind, and
totally.
So there have always been characters that were proto superheroes before Superman came on the scene. Now in the post-crisis era. When it was one timeline, and we had the status quo was that the JSA quit in the 50s and they fought crime in secret for a while, and yada yada yada. And then later they would add teams that like operated in the 70s, like the Justice Alliance.
Right.
But it was a long drought after superheroes kind of fell out of favor, and then before Superman came onto the scene. So Superman is always credited for kickstarting the modern heroic age.
Okay, I think that's kind of what some of these people were upset about. And they were saying like, well, having all this super stuff before Superman shows up really downplays Superman and whatnot. And like saying that like there were Amazons, like it's in like, or there was like a black hero that fell there. And if you read the code that they're speaking in, like it becomes
their secret code.
Right.
What is the secret code?
It becomes kind of obvious where they're going with this and what they're complaining about. But I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm going to legit focus on the Superman was the first hero argument, and this cheapens him. And I think that's just complete horseshit. It is complete horseshit. If you live in a DC universe where we know you've got a monitor and an anti-monitor and New Genesis and New Gods and shit like that, all of that happened before Krypton even fucking formed.
Yeah, before all his parents were alive.
Right, but I'm talking about before Krypton was a planet.
Thousands of years, millions of years, billions of years.
Right, before Krypton forged into a planet and anything walked on it, let alone Superman's parents, right?
The thing that people tend to forget, and when I say people, I mean civilians, let's say.
Muggles,
sure. Yeah. Is that there is a difference between the textual version of events and the meta version of events, which is that for all intents and purposes, Superman is the first superhero for most people on the planet Earth because he's the most recognizable. He was the first one that people like rallied around. But technically, no, he wasn't. In continuity, in the textual version of the DC history, he has never, ever been the original superhero, ever.
Right.
Even with Crisis, yeah.
Yeah, and that's I guess that's kind of, and I'm not saying that anyone's opinion No, I'll say it. Their opinion is wrong. I don't understand how you
Their opinion is wrong. They are operating on incorrect information.
It's a fundamental misunderstanding of the DC universe. And I don't see any problem with saying, yes, the DC Old West comics were definitely part of the universe. Yes, all the Silver Age King Arthur BS that spun out of it. It's all part of the DC universe. They are superheroes. There's no question. There is no question.
The official timeline in the back, the text timeline, mentions fucking Robin Hood.
Right.
It's okay, how many DC comic books was Robin Hood in? I mean, a fair amount, but certainly none that any of us remember.
Well, sure, for sure.
Yeah.
I also let me ask one more question, and this is I legit can't remember. I know we fixed Hawkman's, well, fixed in quotes, but we did our best to fix Hawkman and Hawkgirl's origin. Here we see them in ancient Egypt. Qatar, Deathbringer, and Shura served in Ancient Force.
No, that's Prince Khufu.
Oh, you're right. That's Prince Khufu. Sorry.
And whatever her name was at the time, it was probably still something like Shayara, but I can't remember.
Yeah, but she would go.
Because Qatar Deathbringer was the Venditti from another planet, like from thousands and thousands of years ago.
Okay, but I guess
that was what Venditti did.
But my point here is Qatar, and it says Prince Khufu Mat, Qatar, and Chayera of the planet Thanagar. So did they just mash two things together to fix the sort of Hawkworld Thanagar reincarnations of Hawkman and Hawkgirl thing? Or does this stick with the newest origin we have of those characters?
To look at the thing about Shayara being from Thanagar again in the context of Prince Khufu, because I don't remember exactly. But I do remember that in Jeff Johns' JSA.
Well, this says of the planet Thanagar, upon their death, they began a millennia-long chain of reincarnations across many worlds.
Yeah, that's when Qatar and the Hawk Woman from that same era, the Qatar and his lady that were evil,
right?
When they died, that kicked off the whole thing, and which eventually took them to Thanagar, where he was reborn as Perrin Qatar,
right?
And
becomes a hero.
And then he was reborn on Earth as Carter Hall, or no, not even. He was reborn as Prince Khufu, and then again as fucking Nighthawk in the Old West,
who's also here. Who's also
Carter
here,
Hall
by the
40s.
way. Hello, Nighthawk and Cinnamon. They're both here.
Nighthawk and Cinnamon, yeah. And Jeff John, Waid has kind of massaged all of these versions together, except for maybe the Hawk World part, where Qatar Hall was completely reimagined, and removed from his original origin.
That would come later too, the Hawk World stuff,
right?
Right. So because that is Justice League era stuff. So that I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that later.
And there is a mention here of the Jeff Johns story where Jay Garrick gets stranded in Prince Khufu's time, and they find that crashed Thanagarian ship,
right? Which
is where how the Nth Metal got to Earth.
Well, and also how What's-Her-Head got to Earth. Apparently, I mean, she.
Well, maybe she was in it. I don't know if that was part of that story or if that's something that was addressed later. I'd have to look.
They don't mention it here, but when you say Che era of planet Thanagar, that's my guess.
John Taverdick says this is the best discussion I've heard in the Gang Hang maybe in forever.
Well, this is the stuff that this is what I love about comics like this. And I totally get why someone else might pick this up, read one page and put it down. I totally understand that. But I love when we stitch a universe together, when we make make sense.
Nobody wants this to happen for a year. We don't want this is a 4-part story.
Absolutely.
Or 4-part series. Because again, it's not even really a story, but yeah, if this was 12 issues, it would be exhausting.
Yeah.
But this is a redefinition, 4 issues in and out, beautiful artwork, onto the next thing, and also, kind of a resetting of all the deck. And I think that's necessary after all the stuff, because when we saw Superman as the first hero in the complicated New 52 stuff, it's like he's in the t-shirt.
Yeah.
And that's 5 years before everybody else.
And I think that's what a lot of people were glomming onto, like, yep, white guy, first hero. And sorry to throw that in there, but, like, first hero, whatever, there it is. Boom, that's all I need. But okay, fine. Let's say it is. Then the whole rest of DCU is pretty damn boring before that. I mean, and this is way cooler. You're telling me the Caribbean's Captain Fear was around, and Andrew Bennett, a minor English nobleman, was cursed with vampirism for the next 400 years, defended humanity against the cult of the Blood Red Moon? That rips.
And our boy John Valor.
Yeah, John Valor
from Starman.
Yeah, John Valor, the heroic black pirate.
Dude.
Dickie Swift and John Valor on the same page.
Old Dickie Swift.
Like this shit.
And I think that John Valor was probably from like old Silver Age comics.
Oh, you know that he was.
I definitely claim him.
Oh, I mean, it's a Robinson trope, right? Like,
absolutely.
Like even, I mean, just a tangent of all tangents. The thing in the Starman books where he would mention some character, like the balloon buster guy, and it's like,
the red bee. Right.
So he would mention somebody, and then the character would mention someone, and the balloon buster's like, no, the other one, and then you realize there's two guys that have similar names but different powers and Robin, and then they're like, oh yeah, okay. Like it's an aside, but it's continuity. It's like he's so good at that. Like that's the magic of that whole legacy and all the people that exist at the same time. And like the Savage Field and all that stuff. Like it's a great book.
Yeah. But okay, so there you go. The Black Pirate. First appearance, Action Comics number 23. 1940.
Yeah. So he predates.
Holy shit!
He predates most of the DC universe.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, here it is. Here's that Hawkman page, or that Prince Khufu page, where he says, "Where did it go? I lost it. I had it and I lost it." Qatar, Deathbringer, and Shira served an ancient force of evil before being redeemed and reincarnated as the humans.
Yeah.
Prince Khufu, Mat Qatar, and Che Ara of the planet Thanagar.
Right.
And then in the timeline in the back, it says Prince Khufu discovered the Thanagarian warship in the desert in JSA number 23 in 2002 or whatever.
So there you go.
Yeah, so I guess that she was from Thanagar until I look it up and find otherwise.
Yeah, it's right there, I guess. So I don't know. I thought this was. I love.
Go ahead, man.
I just love the gentle massage, and I think DC has not had.
It's the gentle massage.
It is right,
and for me, it's the gentle massage without throwing things away. Like hey, guess what? People, those of you that came onto the DC universe with the New 52, guess what? We see you.
Yeah, it's there.
The Demon Knights are here. But here's what you can expect not to happen. Superman running around in a t-shirt 5 years before the formation of the Justice League.
Right.
That's just not going to be here.
And we don't need it. We don't need it. It's fine.
I think we will get a polite mention at some point in the final issue of Dr. Manhattan messing around with the time stream and causing all sorts of divergence before things were finally set right.
That's probably
and that's my theory of how Waid is going to address.
I think that is a very safe bet. Unfortunately, I think that's a very safe bet. I don't love it, but
I mean, I'm fine with it because I don't need him to. I don't need us to spend more time dwelling on what Dr. Manhattan did. In fact, the less they talk about it, the better, in my opinion.
Agreed. And it's here, and we're going to have to deal with it whether we like it or not, because, yes, there's an entire argument about whether or not Alan Moore deserves more credit or they should even use his stuff, but he did do it under contract for DC. They own those characters.
I mean, yeah, that's not even the question. It's just the simple fact that it has already happened.
Right.
It has already happened, so that genie's out of the bottle.
I didn't need it. I still don't like it. And not for storytelling reasons only. I'm not going to go into any other stuff. For storytelling reasons only, I don't need it or like it. But here we are.
Sure.
So.
Sure. No, I hear you. I'm with you.
All right. That was super fun. I had a lot of questions after reading this, because like some of this stuff I only barely remember and had to look up and whatnot. But like, it's awesome. I love the Congo Bill counts. I love the enemy ace counts.
Congorilla.
You know?
I wonder if we'll see Congorilla running around in James Robinson's JLA like he did pre-Flashpoint.
We can only hope. We can only hope.
We can only hope.
All right, other stuff to rap about. We've got an Ironheart show that premiered. I watched the first 2 episodes last night and fell asleep. Has anyone else watched Ironheart, want to discuss it, have any feelings, thoughts?
Yeah. I'll let anybody else that's watched it speak up first before I open my yapper again.
I see Skeleton is unmuted. Talk to us. What'd you think, Skeleton? Let's rap about it. Let's hear it.
Oh, I'm unmuted. Okay.
You are now. See what I did there?
Yeah. I'll talk. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm mostly enjoying the main character so far, and I think the heist team is cool. I don't know where it's going. I've never really liked or understood the Hood from the comics, but I think what they're doing with this version of him could be cool.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I agree. The Hood has never been a favorite in the Ziggurat, if you will. I thought the Hood was a good idea when he dropped. Like, it was Brian K. Vaughan invented the Hood, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Brian K. Vaughan and Kyle Hotz.
Yeah. And I think we forget that series was good because Bendis then took the Hood and tried to do everything with him for like 4 years. and it was just too much the Hood. But I like the guy that's playing him in this, and I think it's a clever take on the character. I like the heist aspect. Part of me though, I'm not gonna lie, there was part of me that was like, would Riri really do this? I mean, even if it's criminal activity, she does, I don't know. I just kind of kept asking myself, like, why are we going this way with the story? Leading into like she sort of becomes tangentially involved in crime. Do we need that? And like, I can't get funded and stuff like that. I was like, okay, you were pretty good friends with the Wakandans last time we checked. What happened there? You know? Why can't you go work with them?
It's not like she can call up Shuri and say, "Can you please send me a
why can't
van full of vibranium?"
She literally helped them save the entire country. She fought on a giant submarine with them against Namor, you know, and like, why can't she? I guess is my question.
I mean, I guess she could.
Yeah.
I mean, in the comics, Riri, Tony was alive,
right?
So, she didn't really have to go through this particular growing pain. But in the context of the MCU, like, I'm fine with it. Whatever.
I'm not saying the show
would she do it? I mean, I don't know that Riri is an established enough character that they can't do something weird with her. So go ahead.
I'm not saying the show is bad. I'm not saying anything like that. It just feels like to me, it felt a little bit like we're bending over backwards to put her in a position to tell this story, which is okay, I guess. But it also kind of speaks to the Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a greater scope right now, where it feels a little, I don't know, feels a little lost to me. And they've already said, well, this is the end of phase 5 and whatever, so don't worry about it. And we're just throwing it out there. And not a lot of push for this either. I didn't see any ads. Most people didn't even know this was hitting.
A lot of ads on cable television.
Oh, really? Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
The only ads I really watch are during live sports, right? Everything else I watch is streaming.
Yeah. So. No, it's been fairly heavily advertised on cable TV, but if you don't watch cable TV, then you wouldn't know it.
Good. That's good. And like, look, I think Riri Williams is a good character. I'm just saying the show has not grabbed me yet. I don't think it's bad, but it hasn't grabbed me yet. And
only thing I was going to add to that, and I don't know because I'm going to watch the first 3 episodes maybe later tonight.
Okay.
But
Damon,
I was
by the way,
watching a reviewer who was giving a spoiler free, and he said, "Look, he says it does start really slow."
Mm-hmm.
And he says that, however, he did watch the last 2 episodes, and he says it's actually pretty light. He says, don't look at the spoilers because it's actually some significant stuff that happens, and maybe some introduction of some particular characters we didn't see coming.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know. I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm not gonna. The totality of it is gonna be released, I think, in a week or two.
In a week.
Might just. Yeah, exactly. So I might just kind of. I'm gonna reserve judgment until I see the whole thing, because it might be one of those stories where they just kind of build up, and some of that stuff might be boring, but we'll have to see if they stick the landing, because Marvel shows haven't always stick the landing recently.
True.
Anyway, as far as television shows go, so we'll see if that changes.
So,
go ahead, Joe.
Okay. So I watched all 3 episodes. I watched them back to back late one night, and I really enjoyed it. And I think maybe if you were watching it one per week, then I can see how you would think that the first episode's kind of slow. But they all dropped on the same day, and I watched them all at once. And so for me, I was just like, yeah, this is great. This is really moving along. And they spend a lot of time, like something that Wakanda Forever didn't have time to do was really establish Riri as a character, like in her personal life.
Yeah, at all, really.
And they took a lot of time in the first episode, especially to kind of establish Riri and show where she's from and what she's been dealing with. And so could she call the Wakandans? Well, yeah, maybe that is a question, but they also they're kind of dealing with the character in a different place than even where she is in the comics now, because the Marvel Cinematic Universe ages in real time. Riri has grown up. She's an adult. She's a college age adult now.
Sure.
And everything that happened in Wakanda happened before her stepdad and her best friend died.
Right. No, and I get that. I totally get that.
And so, like, she's been through some shit since we've last seen her in Wakanda. And so she's kind of she's kind of flushed her own life down the toilet by doing all that shady stuff at MIT and whatnot.
I mean, I suppose, and I can kind of see that. And again, some of these are complaints to the greater Marvel universe and the stories that they've decided to tell and sort of try and ground, so that other people that aren't huge comic nerds will watch and be like, well, yeah, MIT, that's where smart people go to school. She is well beyond MIT. Well beyond. Right? And,
well, sure, but where could she afford to go?
Wakanda. Right? That's where she's in a position where she's like, you this is too small for me. And like, I'm smarter than my professors and stuff like that. I just find it, in a world like the Marvel Universe, she'd be, at the Future Foundation or something, or working in a laboratory in Wakanda. And I think that might be a slightly more interesting story than I've sold a bunch of my projects to people to make some money. It's like, she's thinking small. She's thinking stupid small and getting involved in crime. Like, I don't know how much I like that. And it seems kind of risky to me, as for the storytellers to be like, yeah, she's obviously she's black, so she doesn't have the same foundations and money and whatnot, and so she kind of turns to a life of crime. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's going to change. Maybe that's going to change.
I think that's your white liberal guild talking.
A little bit. I think it probably is, but I don't think you needed to do that with the character. I think she's got a history with Wakanda. Why not play on it?
I'll probably have an opinion about this after I finish watching this, but my understanding is it's not about like, oh yeah, she could just move up or whatever. There is something about roots as well, where she's from, and that kind of turning her back on, because, and again, none of us here are in the position to talk about this, but that is a very big topic where in these communities where you see people get really big and, they basically just forego their whole life. And I don't know, without watching the first 3 episodes, I'm talking a bit of a handicap, but from what I saw from some of the, directors talk, that was kind of a thought, I think.
Yeah.
In the process of where she is now. And we'll see how it all turns out. Because maybe by the end of this, she does go back to Wakanda and just says, you know what?
True. Yeah.
I can make a bigger difference here.
Right. So, if you want to make this suit, this rescue thing that she's wearing, and the suit is cool. I like the way it looks and everything. It's just, I don't know. And again, this is probably my problem with the larger MCU, but it's like, since the Avengers are gone, we've got a bunch of ragtag people that are sort of involved in things that are sort of disconnected, and it doesn't feel real MCU-ish to me. I would think like a guy like Tony Stark. I know he died suddenly or whatever, but wouldn't he have something in place, like a fund for people like this, like that are gonna, I don't know, like people that would reach out and be like,
if she knows about it, and like, who is to say that he doesn't?
Pepper's still around. Pepper knows. Pepper knows her. Pepper like has seen.
Pepper doesn't know her.
Sure, she knows that Tony gave money to this brilliant kid. We saw that in Wakanda, like in the second Black Panther and everything. Like Stark threw money at her to help. Yeah. Like she was talking to Tony Stark's. She was talking to Tony Stark's, Jarvis and whatnot, and like, so they have to know.
That part I don't remember.
Yeah, she was like in the.
Yeah, are you sure you're not making that up?
I'm almost positive.
There was part I definitely don't remember.
There was a connection
I remember
to
something
Stark
about the Stark scholarship. But
yeah,
I don't remember that part where she actually was talking to Pepper.
Maybe
and Jarvis.
I take that back, but you're right, and I'll take that back. But I do believe she has a Stark scholarship and like built this thing and did some stuff that was on the news in armor that looks like Stark tech, and for Pepper to be like, it's probably nothing. You know, I don't know. I wish he was a little more interconnected, and I don't necessarily think it's the show's fault. I think they did what they did, and they're telling the character piece, and we'll see. And I hope it's good. So far, it just isn't. It's not grabbing me. And every time I watch one of these shows, I turn to Casey. She's the muggle in the house, and I go, "How do you feel about this?" And she goes, "I don't think Marvel TV shows are good anymore." And I went, "Oh, okay." She's like, "It's fine, but I don't need to watch it."
I think that it's easy to fall into a trap of judging a show by what you wish it could be, or by thinking about why some choices were made and others weren't. That doesn't make the show good or bad. The fact that she doesn't lean on Wakanda, that's not the story. That's not the story they're telling. Like, she came home. She came home to her family and to her community, like Damon said.
And I get that. And
the fact that Tony Stark didn't set her up for life, despite never meeting her once in the MCU, like, that's not the story. I don't think it's a missed opportunity. Like, I think that the fact that this girl who has been broken from grief is making destructive life choices in an effort to further her work reads true to me. And and I think that if you watch the show rather than falling asleep during the first episode, you will see that by the end of the third episode,
I watched the first two, like I said.
You said you fell asleep.
No, I watched the first two, and then I had to go to sleep.
Oh, all right. Well, by the end of the third episode, spoiler alert, by the end of the third episode, it's only a 6 episode show, so this shouldn't come as a shock to anyone. But by the end of the third episode, Riri realizes that she fucked up big time.
Well, sure.
It's like, maybe it was not a good idea to throw in my lot with this Robin Hood figure who is claiming to stick it to the 1%, you know?
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing, is that the way the Hood kind of couches his pitch is that it's not about getting rich or stealing. It's about sticking it to billionaires.
Sure.
Which, you know, I can absolutely see Riri being on board for.
It's still breaking and entering and a crime. But whatever.
I understand that it's a crime.
And if you can't see that this guy is bad, Joe.
Nowadays that doesn't sound so bad, to be honest.
If she was younger, I might buy that, like, the Hood tricked her into this. But like, she's older. She's got to know this guy's a bad guy. She's got to know he's a liar.
No, she wasn't tricked. I'm saying, again, she's broken. She's a broken person, and she's making broken person decisions.
Mark,
we've seen very public figures make crazier decisions than apparently what she does.
This is true.
It doesn't matter how smart she is. It doesn't matter how smart she is or how much how much intelligence she has compared to anybody else that she's dealing with. She's broken, and that's what's driving the story.
Agreed. And Mark brings up a point in the chat. And Mark, if you want to jump in and talk about it, I'd love to. But they don't paint her as a very sympathetic character. She's kind of self-absorbed. Maybe that's how she's dealing with her grief and whatnot. Mark, go ahead. I see you came off mute.
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much because this feels like for a white guy that reads comic books to make a comment on this show, it feels like a minefield. Like I don't want to
Right.
yuck anybody else's yum. And if you're enjoying the show, God, good for you guys. You know, I paused it after like 15 minutes into the second episode because I just wasn't really feeling the gang. I wasn't really feeling Riri, and that's on me. But if other people are having the same issues with the show, then, and I'm not, see, again, I'm saying I have problems with just the show itself, but
right.
not the character, I don't care about all the other stuff. And the thing is, the only thing I saw on social media beyond some of the targeted ads that were popping up, I saw an old, some childhood friend that blasted, the ad for saying, he said what was it? Go woke, go broke. This is how. Yeah, I know. No. It's laughable. It's stupid. I haven't talked to that guy for 25 years. But if this is how people are some people are looking at the show, then whatever. Good riddance to that part of the audience.
Yeah, fuck them. But, I mean, that's not an argument.
Yeah. But for the people that enjoy comic books and enjoy watching comic book superhero shows, look. That first episode, that's the pilot. That's the one that's supposed to really grab the viewer and be like, I'm in for the ride.
Yes.
And it didn't. And it didn't do that for me. So that's all I'm going to say. If you're enjoying it, God bless you.
Okay, Mark. There's nothing wrong with what you said. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. This is not... None of us, of course, are saying, well, maybe if they put a white male in the role, it'd be better. No, I'm not saying that at all. And I understand it's Riri's story. I just haven't found Riri real compelling yet. She hasn't hit me. And maybe it's
I think she's more compelling in this show than she was in Wakanda Forever.
Oh, for sure.
Well, in Wakanda Forever, she felt like an additive that they shoehorned into the show or into the movie because they were trying to launch a show.
Yes. But
I'm not saying that Ryan Coogler didn't do the best he could, but I think that Riri is given more personality and agency in this show just in 3 episodes than she was in that movie.
100%. And they better because it's her story. But I will also say, like Mark just said, the first episode is the pilot. And after the first episode, I said, all right, that's okay. I guess I'll watch the second episode. Now, this same week, and completely different show, but I'm just comparing, contrasting. I watched the first episode of Duster, that show on Max, right? Starring What's-His-Head from Lost. And also a story about a black female FBI agent who's literally in the, late 60s, early 70s, I think it is. Well, we'll say early 70s. And she's been moved around because she's an upstart. She's really good at what she does, and all the white guys can't stand her, right? The first pilot episode of that, when it was done, I went, fuck yeah, more of this. This is great. I haven't felt that way about a Marvel TV show. And I'm not just talking about, Ironheart. I haven't felt that way about a Marvel TV show in a very long time. And when they dump 3 episodes and next week they dump the other 3 and then they make public statements like, phase 5 is over with this. It kind of makes me feel like they are just kind of flushing it out because they know it's fine. It's fine. Duster's 1972. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Ironheart, there are logistical problems behind the scenes with Ironheart.
Yeah.
That, because obviously this show was supposed to come out
2 years ago?
At least 2 years ago.
Right?
At least 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it was delayed. And I'm sure that they also had to shift gears because of some things and yada, yada, yada. So there are some logistical problems. And so the fact that Marvel is just kind of shitting it out in 2 weeks is a choice. It does make me think that it's getting a short shrift as far as Marvel's confidence behind it is concerned. It's not, it doesn't seem like it's getting this. It's certainly not being treated with the same kind of hey, are you guys excited for this as Fantastic Four?
Of course. Yeah. No.
And I understand the difference in the scope of the projects, but if you are the company making both projects, you should be promoting them as though you love them both equally, like they're your children, right? Like you should
Agreed.
be. Yeah.
I think that I haven't seen the show yet. I think I was going to watch it with my family later today. At least the first one. I think we're dealing with. I think some of the hesitation is like the content, as we talked about continuity for 40 minutes before, the continuity issue of the universe. And like, if you remember, like Iron Man 3, he's dealing with all this stuff and he's kind of like out on his own. But this is like literally after the Avengers movie, where why not call Thor?
Yeah.
Why not call?
Yes.
You know, like, and you have, and it's hard to. The stakes are like seem so small, but like they're so big in the story. But it's like, call Cap and he'll hit that guy in the face and you'll be done.
Right.
Like, you know that guy.
Right.
You know, and
But
so
I mean, it's the same problem we have in the comics, and Matt and I have argued about it incessantly on the show. It's that these characters have to be allowed to have their own stories. Like Riri can't be set in Wakanda all the time because that's not what Riri Williams is all about.
Of course. And I don't
so
agree with that. But
I think not including her in Wakanda is an important choice for the character. But I think I don't think there's a pilot for the show. Like, there's just 6 episodes.
Yes.
You know, like the pilot sells the series.
They're treating it like 2
it's a
movies,
miniseries
essentially.
Yeah, like there's no and this is the problem kind of with streaming and all these things. Like I side note, I've watched Duster. There's a thing about the show that I can't not see that I won't mention because it has totally ruined it for me.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I mean, there's a very blatant thing that I would love to talk with you, joke about offline. But,
yeah, absolutely.
It's a well-produced show, and it's definitely this show can go on for season after season after season if there's money behind it and an audience. But like Ironheart is 6 episodes, and it took this long to get these out, and they're happening. And they basically released the 3 because it's not a pilot and subsequent episodes. It's a 6-part thing, and one episode people would say, "I'm never watching another one." Yeah. You know, it's just a pacing thing, and this is the way they've chosen to do that. And I don't know that works. Like having an audience tune into 3 episodes is tough. It's a tough sell. It's like a comic series that's like a mini series that doesn't get going until to issue 3. Like, right. You know, you got to pre-order the first 2.
I mean, you know? do you remember ages ago, like pre-COVID, before COVID broke all our brains and skewed our ability to think about things, where we would say, "Oh, okay, so here's the box set of Buffy the Vampire Slayer volume of season 1." It doesn't really get great until like the last episode of season 1.
Yeah,
so you got to stick with it.
Like episode 22 is when it kicks
21
in.
episodes.
Yeah,
and, like we don't like people
yeah.
do not engage with media that way anymore at all, especially because of the way streaming is presented. It's like if you've got so much shit vying for your time that is immediately available to you,
right?
That you can't go, well, you know what? The show that I'm really looking forward to doesn't start until the fall, so I'm gonna spend this summer watching this. It's like, no, it's all available at all times right now,
right? And
if it doesn't get us in the first episode, then we're out in a lot of people's cases.
Yeah.
So I don't think Hollywood, it has necessarily like glommed onto the fact that you can't do a slow burn unless it's done real well.
Well, sure, but also I don't think okay, and just for the record, I know it sounds like I'm complaining a lot. For the record, I think Riri Williams deserves a story and deserves a show. She's interesting. It makes sense to have someone pick up where someone like Tony left off in this world doing armored stuff. Love that idea. I don't think it did her any favors that, like you said, Joe, she was a bit of a tacked on afterthought in Black Panther 2. They immediately announce a show for her, and then they don't put 100% of their weight or creativity behind it. Because, like, if you want to do this, you've got to make it excellent. If you want people to watch this, it's got to be excellent. You've got to point to the go woke and go broke guy and say, fuck you, we just put out something kick ass. and this is
right.
good,
And it's like,
but it doesn't
hey guys,
feel...
is it woke to acknowledge that black people exist?
Right.
No.
Well, that's a
There's
political
nothing woke
statement
about it.
Joe, I didn't want to get political.
That's not true.
No,
I mean,
it's not true.
It's
You're
woke
right.
in the sense that, like, oh, here's somebody that's like non-binary or transgender.
No,
and,
but in the sense,
you
what
know,
I'm
and
saying
it's like-
is that's not even the argument. The argument is it's too easy for people like that to point at this and be like, see, it wasn't a good show. That's what happens. They went woke, they went broke. Fuck you.
Wait a minute, that hacker's dressed like a girl.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
You know, like there's one of the drag queens from RuPaul's show is in the gang. I can't remember the one, but when she showed up,
okay, well, yeah.
Casey's eyes
hacker,
lit up,
yes,
and she was like, "Oh my god, I love her."
Stud.
Yeah, and she's great, and she's really good. But
Yeah.
like, it's a very easy for some asshole like Stern's, ex-acquaintance to be like, "There they go again." So if you're gonna do it, you better make it fucking excellent. And I'm not saying you have to fight the trolls every time. That's not the job. But the job is to lift a character like Riri Williams and give her something rad, as opposed to we're just going to dump these 6 out and they're fine. It's too bad, and it's a mark of a lot. Echo,
but
is the same thing.
Like I need to be clear once again. I don't think it's just fine. I think it's really good.
Okay.
So I think that opinion is gonna be split like it is with all of these. But I really enjoyed my time. I like the gang. I love the blood sibs, like the two like MMA fighters that want to spend their millions on an underground fight club.
Sure.
I think the fight choreography is really great. I think the effects are great. I think the weakest part about it is that the hood is not interesting. Let me back up, because I think that Anthony Ramos is playing him really well. I like the found family aspect. Like the things that from the original Brian K. Vaughan comic, where it's like the cousin John, who is the charismatic one, and he's the one that's organizing all the jobs. Like they handle all that really well in the show.
Fair.
And I just don't think that the hood as a concept makes for a compelling main villain. But what else would you do? You like to have the hood and then also somebody else would be silly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, honestly. And I'm not going to go into like, well, I don't know. You get Don Cheadle finds her and they work together and he trains her and then they, whatever. We could rewrite this a million different ways. And it feels like.
But to go back to what Damon said is that reviewers are saying that by the time the back 3 episodes are over, you will see the show take a drastic turn in terms of its connection to the MCU.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, things are yet to be revealed. So
yeah, and what I was going to say, I think that honestly, this is just where it is right now with the MCU. It's probably more of a victim of previous planning, to be honest. Like you said, they announced the show literally a few months after Wakanda Forever came out.
Yeah.
And did they even know exactly what they were doing back then? Particularly.
What are you talking about, Damon? They had a timeline with 15 movies on it. They're all, come on. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Kevin Feige stood in front of a black screen with his hat on, just like Ryan.
All those things. Yeah, I didn't know exactly what any of them were going to be like, in particular, like Blade, for example, but that's a whole other story. But what I was going to say was, at the end of the day, is it one of those things where they figured, okay, we put this in the pipeline, we have to spit it out? Yes. Can it also be that it's good enough where it was, it's fine, or it's, even excellent? Yeah. But at the end of the day, to them, this is just them. Okay, we just got to spit this content out because maybe there's a little bit in there that they're thinking about, like it's going to connect to the MCU and say, okay, so we're going to keep this one and we're going to spit it out.
Yeah, I hope so.
Does that mean that it's not good? It doesn't mean that it's not good, but that just might be the thought process behind it at the moment. So I always judge these things, individually, regardless of how or why it's spit out into like, is it good? Is it, is it good by itself? Yes. Does it fit in the MCU? Yeah, maybe. But I just want to make sure the show by itself is good, even regardless of the connection. That's kind of how I view these things nowadays.
Sure. And it's also not this show's fault that Fantastic Four comes out in a couple of weeks and Marvel's like, please, 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 please trust us again. So.
Right. Like I understand. So like the marketing behind it and the decision, the scheduling decision behind it is perhaps that what goes down in this show would not necessarily be possible after Fantastic Four.
Perhaps.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I'm not like, that's just kind of where my head's at, and I don't know what that means exactly. But there was a reason why they needed to get this out before Fantastic Four came out.
For sure. And it all kind of feels like, to me, a little bit the end of like the DC movies, the Snyderverse, as it was like, well, we got 3 more movies, but everybody knows it's over and we're done here.
Right, exactly.
You
The
know?
Snyderverse is over. Meanwhile,
Right.
here's Shazam 2
So
and
it doesn't matter.
Aquaman 2.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, it just seems like they made it a little, if you want to ignore this, it's really easy to ignore it. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Well, they told you it's the end of the phase, so
Yeah.
you know the new phase, the bright new phase is coming. So don't even worry about the old phase.
Right.
That's my take on this
Sure.
right now. Is that
Yeah.
all of this stuff, regardless of where it is, or whether it's good or whether it's not good, that's irrelevant now. Because if you're talking from the big picture of the MCU, it's like, okay, we put this out. This is on the timeline. We're sticking to it this time. No Jonathan Major crap. Let's just move on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that,
So-
that makes the stakes even higher. And maybe that's a me thing. I fully admit that. And I don't dislike the show, but there's just part of it where I guess I hoped it was going to be even better to shut a lot of people up. And not necessarily because like then she's going to lead the Avengers or something afterwards, but just to shut a lot of people up and restore some
But here's
faith
the deal,
in
though.
Marvel TV and
Nothing's
whatnot.
ever going to be. Yeah.
Which
But
Daredevil
nothing's
did.
ever going to be
Don't
good
get me
enough for
wrong.
those guys.
No,
You
no.
know, regardless.
No, I agree. And that's not what the game is about, you know, and we all know maybe this is the end of phase 5, but Daredevil's still around. So who knows what that is? And now John Barenthal is apparently cast in the next Spider-Man movie. If that's true,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's,
I'm intrigued.
I don't know
But
if that's
what this
100%
means,
true.
But I am
Did you
intrigued.
see that meme? You know, there's that bizarre picture of Spider-Man where you can see his huge wide grin through his mask. And it's like this kind of meme looking picture, and it's like Tom Holland's face every time Punisher blows a dude's head off. It's very funny.
It will be interesting to see how you take a character like Barenthal's Punisher, who they reintroduced into Daredevil, very much as the same character from his Netflix show, violent
Oh, geez, Mr.
psychopath.
Castle, don't shoot him.
Yeah,
it's
like
gonna be ridiculous.
yeah.
Just-
I mean, he's cutting people's heads off. You know, like he's bad news.
yeah.
You know, I just thought of it. I hate to put this analogy. It's going to be like Rick and Morty.
Yeah,
It's gonna be absolutely insane.
maybe.
Oh, yes. Oh, jeez, Rick. Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, right. Like, is that what they're gonna do? Or like, oh look, another costumed hero. Nice to meet you, sir. What's your name? Oh my God, what did you just do? You know. I don't know. We'll see. It should be interesting. I got to get out of here. This is a good gang hang.
Well, before we go, I have an addendum to our Hawkman discussion from earlier.
Oh, okay.
The DC Continuity Project, which is a labor of fan of love and obsession. They state that Chayara and Khufu are both from Thanagar, and they crashed on Earth in ancient Egypt, and they rose to become the rulers of that region of Egypt.
Oh,
Now that is separate from, apparently separate from the crash that we talked about from the JSA comic, or perhaps this is them trying to massage that continuity a little bit, because I looked at that issue of JSA and it is 2 unnamed Thanagarians, both of whom die on after the crash. So
okay. Well, Mark Waid is definitely saying that.
I think that they are going with the idea that at the very least, Chayara is from Thanagar.
She is from Thanagar. He is basically saying this dude's from Earth. She is from Thanagar.
Which is what is stated here in the DC Continuity Project. Yeah.
Okay.
So there you have it.
Hawkman. Don't worry about it. We're not going to have any Hawkman series anytime soon.
Yeah,
'cause they don't
that
sell.
should be the official. That should be the official subtitle of Hawkman. It's a Hawkman : Don't worry about it.
It's like Wolverine. If he had wings and a hammer, you'll love him.
Yeah.
Look at the continuity, though. Don't even read it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Don't do it. All right. Good gang hang, everybody. Good to be back. I'm done traveling for the summer, so hopefully we can get back on a regular basis here, and we'll keep rolling. But for now, I gotta get out of here.
Everybody, try to keep all your fingers on Friday.
Oh yeah. Have a happy and safe 4th of July. We'll see you next Saturday, hopefully. Nobody has like the cartoon blown back hair and like gray smoke all over their face, and missing fingers. So
happens every year. We'll try. We'll try and not make it happen this year.
We're all just a bunch of walking Wile E. Coyotes.
All right. Let's get out of here. My name's Matt Baum.
I'm the Internet's Joe Patrick.
And this is the Two-Headed Nerd signing off. Thanks, guys.